these hearings are streamed live to YouTube. They are public hearings, so anyone from the public.
I think he pushed the wrong button.
Yeah, I think he left the meeting.
Well, he's definitely a participant. We can't go without. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Looks like he's back, coming back.
Sorry, folks.
You're the one person that can't be missing from this, David.
Yeah, sorry, left that meeting. That was unintentional. I was intending to start a YouTube live stream. It is going. Okay. And we are recording. Last thing I need to do here before we get started is to read through the hearing script. This basically will just cover the procedure of the hearing, and then we'll go ahead and move forward. So this is the August 24th, 2022 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the Zoning Hearing Examiner for the City of Cincinnati, and I'll preside over this hearing. The case before us today is case number ZH20220120. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the Zoning Hearing Examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any opposing parties wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing unless a party has submitted evidence or testimony in the form of writing prior to this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. Anyone from the public will then have an opportunity to speak after the applicant has presented its case. I'll give the zoning plans examiner, Trey Sheldon, an opportunity to provide any testimony in addition to his staff report. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this project, the applicant shall have an opportunity to rebut that testimony and or argument. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. So for our purposes here today, everyone who's appearing on behalf of the applicant or the owner or the project team, I'll give one or all of you an opportunity to speak. You can orient that presentation however you would like. It's completely up to you. I'm typically looking for some background on the project, why it's necessary, why you think this particular relief should be granted. I'll then go to anyone from the public, and I believe in this case that may just be Walter Welsh, who's not actually a member of the project team, if I understand correctly so far. I'll give Mr. Welsh an opportunity to provide any testimony, go to Trey, allow you to respond to any of the testimony from Trey and from Mr. Welsh. I'll ask some questions along the way. You guys can make some closing remarks, and then we'll wrap it up. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. I may also refuse to consider hearsay testimony or documents. This generally means evidence you want to introduce that consists of statements made by someone who's not present at the hearing today. In the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom, as we've already experienced, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those on the fly, but to the extent that there's some defect in the tech that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay. Last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, asking any questions, doing anything other than just strictly observing, then you need to be sworn in. If you're not sure whether you're going to testify, I can always swear you in midway through the hearing. But if you know you would like to provide some testimony here today, I'd like to collectively swear all those people in at this time. So if that's you, if you could take yourself off of mute, I need everyone to raise their right hand and to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Great. Thanks, everyone. Okay. So who is going to take the lead here on this presentation? Mr.
David,
Walsh.
I'll go ahead, David.
Mr. Woosty, go ahead.
Yeah. If I could just make one statement first. Hebrew Union College does not have any objection to what was being proposed. I just wanted to make sure that the geothermal map that I had forwarded to them was taken into consideration on any of the engineering studies. And that's the only purpose why I wanted to be in this call at the beginning, to make sure that that drawing print that I gave them, layout, whatever you want to call it, was in consideration. The unfortunate thing is I have a retirement party to head out to for a person here, so I can't stay on the call for its entirety. That's all I wanted to state. We don't have any objection as long as that was considered.
Sure. Okay. It will be. Thank you for joining us.
Okay.
All right. On the applicant side, who would like to take the lead on the presentation here?
I'll get it started. David, do you want me to respond to that now or?
Sure. Yeah. Well, while we still have them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Walter, just so you're aware. So we basically took that plan that was provided and we did include that in our site condition plan or in our site plan so that the contractor is aware of those locations. And we have a note on our plan, just making sure that we're only actually doing minor little pavements. So it's not expected we're even doing any significant excavation in that vicinity, but we are going to be very cognizant of where those locations are per record. And when we're up in that near your parking lot.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thanks. Okay. Mr. Woosty, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm just going to get started here. I'm going to actually, our plan here today is Zach Zettler, what GBN, is going to run through, I guess, a high level overview of the project. Zach, I guess you let me know if you want me to share my screen or if you want to share yours.
Why don't you go ahead and share yours,
Okay.
Doug, 'cause I think you'll be sharing the rest of it as well. Maybe before we do that, I'll ask Steve Mombach if he wanted to give any sort of overview of the project and why TriHealth is doing the project.
Sure. Thanks, Zach. Again, my name's Steve Mombach. I'm a senior vice president with TriHealth. I've been with TriHealth for 18 years. I'm responsible for all of our real estate and for all of our master facility planning and development in the system. We haven't had a master facility plan or an upgrade of Good Samaritan Hospital in probably about 20 years. That doesn't mean we haven't done certain things within our footprint, but this is the first time, other than our physician practice at Group Health Clifton, which was strictly a physician practice, that the hospital has done any type of renovation. We felt it needed, with the changes that have come on with technology, with the size of rooms, with the size of equipment that goes in rooms, it really became necessary that we look at upgrading the various surgical suites that we have, along with the space for a lot of our ambulatory services. So it made most sense that we change the positioning of the hospital where we can have an added ambulatory structure up front and utilize some of the land that we bought in the back for the purposes of a parking garage, which, will leave us pretty much one-to-one, not quite, but of our needs that we have within the parking situation. So with that, Doug, I'll go in with you, but I just gives a total overview. Zach, anything else you want me to cover?
No, I think that covers it. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
So we've put together just a summary slide, couple slides here that illustrate in big picture terms what the project is and where the major components are going. So this first one, so you can see the Hebrew Union College campus kind of to the south and east of the proposed new garage, which is shown in red. The existing garage, Doug, we point towards that. The existing garage is where the new hospital and surgery center is going. So in order to build the new building there, we are tearing that structure down and building the new garage on the site of a former dormitory that was operated by Hebrew Union College. So that's where that is going. Primary access will be along what's called the South Drive, both with connections to Dixmyth and Clifton Avenue. So that road that kind of goes east-west, connecting those two is the primary access for it. This garage is for staff members only. This is not intended to be a public garage. All public parking happens directly east of what's called the AEQ tower. So we are not touching public parking spaces. This is part of a 5 to 6 year construction plan. This is the first kind of enabling project in all of that. So in order, obviously, to build the new building where the garage is, this project needs to be completed, and ultimately there will be a bridge connecting the garage to the new building, but that's future work. So next slide. So this is the proposed garage sitting on that where the dormitory used to be. We are making use of the existing drive that's there, connecting for the 3-lane entry and exit. So this is the one place that you come in and out. We did 3 lanes to allow for any sort of contingency if something were to break down. We've got 2 lanes in or 1 lane out. You can see the bridge connecting the third floor. That'll be a future project, and the elevator core. And we've worked with Hebrew Union College to provide emergency access on the south side of the building for the fire department. And also, this is yet another way out of the garage. So we're trying to touch the land as little as possible, make use of the flat pad where the dormitory was, and then connect back to the new building. We do have elevator access to all levels, and then we also have a secondary stair at the south end of the building. Now, the bridge will not be in place until the new building is constructed in a few years, so we've got pedestrian access to an existing door on the south side of the existing hospital. So you come out of that level there and connect there. So a bit of temporary access. All right, let's take a look at the next one. So this is just a rendering of what that looks like. What you don't see, we're in the process of designing the new building. We're wanting the garage to fit in with the existing campus architecture and also the new building, which has kind of a terracotta or brick color. So we've got a series of screening across the top 2 floors. We did not extend it down to the other levels because you really can't see it from MLK. So we do want to have a presence, a nice presence from MLK as you're going up or down that hill. And then that facade extends across the bridge as well, tying all 3 of those buildings together. All right, and just kind of a last one. This helps illustrate that from MLK headed down the hill, you can see the panels at the top 2 levels, but not the lower 2. So I think that's it from an overview standpoint. Any questions or anything I didn't cover that would be helpful to see or talk about?
I do have a couple questions, but let me go ahead and give anyone else an opportunity. I'll sort of save the questions until I've heard all the testimony. Sometimes they get answered along the way.
Gotcha. Okay.
But thank you for that presentation. Anyone else on the applicant owner side that would like to provide testimony before I go to our zoning plans examiner?
David, this is Doug Woosty. Again, I'm the civil engineer on the project. I just wanted to speak to some of the things we did just to try to really keep hillside stability wasn't of utmost importance as we kind of thought through the design of this garage. So as Zach alluded to or mentioned, the existing footprint of the previous dormitory building is primarily where this garage will be located. So in the existing condition, it's generally a flatter area in this hillside. So we're very mindful of that, trying to capitalize on this flat space in a fairly steep hillside in this area. In addition to that, it's also going to be on pier foundations. Rajan from Terracon can also speak to any geotechnical specifics, but the foundations will be on piers. As Zach mentioned, we did also utilize an existing driveway. And then in order to avoid any significant site walls, I can go back to this visual rendering. It was unclear. There was actually going to be a bridge structure where we were, in order to avoid any significant site walls, we actually took the step of actually creating a bridge connection from the more or less where that grade was. It was kind of unobtainable to kind of create it just with topography. There has to be a bridge connection from that existing drive to connect to this 5th floor of the garage. So again, trying to keep this site as close to existing condition as we can within its current state. And then similarly, I guess with the cuts, we also tried to tier the garage was also tiered. So I can try to show you the section cuts here. So what we did is we actually, if it's unclear, I guess in this image, we tried to tier, the garage was actually tiered. So the lowest elevation kind of will step up with the garage structure. So it starts at an elevation at 721 and will actually step up as the hillside goes up to the east. And that was really to reduce the amount of earthwork or reduce these cuts. So ultimately what we're seeking relief on is that there's a few situations just where the cut itself was unavoidable as far as exceeding the 8 feet. And that's where we are seeking the relief, and that's simply because it's just the nature of the slope in a couple areas. It did exceed that 8 feet, but in general, we did try to match the existing topography and step the garage accordingly with the topography of the site. And I think that's all I had, David. I just wanted to make sure I touched on some of the technical elements.
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Wisty. And that did answer a few of my questions. How much of the existing tree cover and vegetation is going to need to be removed?
There's right here in the southwest corner, there was some impact, but that was generally it. So I can go back to the visual rendering here, it might help a little bit. So as you can see, there could possibly be some trees. I think I'm David on the north side, but as far as on the MLK side, it really was just this southwest corner where we anticipate any tree removal. So a lot of the existing canopy along MLK and to the west of the garage will remain in place.
Okay. I don't have any other questions right now. Anything else from the applicant owner team? Okay. Trey, did you want to add anything?
Sure. I just wanted to explain that that by way of interpreting it, when you go back and look at what Doug called the cut sheets and in my staff report, I've kind of emphasized that the area on the left side, there's kind of almost an embankment over here on the left side. I don't know if you can show that, Doug, but over on the southwest, along there, that's a lot of what you're seeing. Right now, that supports the parking lot for the dormitory, for the former dormitory at Hebrew Union College, one of that dorm, and for the parking lot, primarily the parking lot for the dormitory that's now been demolished. But that's the area in there where they really have to do that. Part of it's the area that's in part showing up as kind of almost like a little ridge there when you look in the overall sheet showing the cuts. Then I would just like to reiterate that this is really, really well stepped. I mean, they're truly doing it to do cost effective engineering here, cost save engineering, but it also dovetails perfectly with what the standards are asking you to do for hillside here, because the building's kind of snugged into the hillside such that the deepest parts to the north there. And as you head southward, and you saw in some of the cut sheets he had, or the sheets of the cuts, you can just see how it's stepped in, starting at the lower left and going upward to the right. The rest of that is all geopiers, which we do not consider to be cuts in the sense that they're not really excavating. They're just taking a drill and kind of augering down there until they get to bedrock to support all this structure. So, especially for this being a project of the size it is, it kind of is remarkable how they managed to, do exactly what the code asks you to do, is to fit this into the hillside, which is what they've done, and to step it and to minimize excavations. All this is being done on piers. And it's only because of the cumulative rule really in that clouded area that you see in the middle there, David, that runs kind of in a linear fashion. Like I said, it runs kind of down part of the middle of that basically west side of what the current or the former parking lot was, is the only part where they really need to kind of, if that makes sense, the part to the right here would have supported the parking lot for the former parking lot up above and so on for the dormitory. And here, that's the only part that kind of as a cross section of it going north and south. That's the only part where they really exceed the 8 feet. Other than that, it's perfectly staffed. So the other thing is what is in my staff report and provided in the application packet is that they are proposing landscaping at the southwest corner where Mr. Woosty was just pointing out, where it faces the residences, the residential districts across Martin Luther King. They're providing extensive landscaping there, as well as on the north side facing the hospital. That's going to be landscaped. Now, I wanted to point out that the north side of this, it's also in my staff report, but the north side of this that faces the hospital will be close to, I don't want to say invisible, but it's going to be obscured by the main hospital complex itself, which exceeds this amount because this is built into the hillside, the hospital, and maybe Mr. Mombach can even speak to that, but I believe it's as much as 8 to 12 stories in height, 8 to 10 stories or more in height for the main hospital building and for the proposed addition, from what I understand, talking with other folks from Kleinders for the future. So I think if anybody standing on the Dixmyth side or over toward the lower levels of Burnett Woods is really not going to know any, practically not even know that this is here, because it'll be all contained behind the massing of the main hospital complex. And also, obviously, there was the existing dormitory building here, which was a comparable or greater height as well. So this is not like a virgin timber area here that's being completely denuded. That was marginal vegetation around the edges of this, and it was all previously until they did their grubbing and so on, and the demolition and grubbing of the site. It was hard. Much of it was a hardscape already. Do you have any other questions of me?
I don't think so. Thanks, Trey.
You're welcome.
Thanks for your staff report.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anything in closing or otherwise from anyone else before we adjourn here today?
I just want to thank Mr. Sheldon for his report out. I think you got it right. Thank you, Mr. Sturkey, too. I think our designers were we're very focused on making sure we could keep as much of the vegetation as possible. We like that. We want that. And honestly, part of our plan in the front, when we do take down the parking garage, you will see when we come back to you with that plan, how much vegetation and trees and grass we're trying to add in order to make this more of a city view. And honestly, you'll see that, which was already approved with some of the improvements we're making in front of our hospital with our current drive. And, we are very much wanting to get rid of cement and rock, although we know we can't do it all. We're the front of a hospital, but adding as much grass and trees and beauty as we can to really make Dixmyth a destination and a beauty. And that was our plan for the parking garage in the back. We knew the dorm was down. We know the parking lot behind us is down. As much as we can add to it, we want to add to it, because we're into as much as that as we know that the city really wants for that area and the Uptown. I'll add that we're a very active member with the Uptown Consortium. They are aware of this project. Beth Robinson and her team have approved of this project, and it fits right into their plans on what's going on with the Uptown area. Thanks, David.
Thank you. Okay, I think we'll leave it at that. I agree with all of you, and Trey, with your comments. I think this is extremely impressive for the size of this structure, the design and the amount of excavation. It's very impressive. I think it fits with the surrounding development. I think it's got obvious public benefit and satisfies the hillside development standards. So I'm going to approve the application. I need to formalize that decision in a written opinion that typically takes about a week to 2 weeks. I'll try and get it out to you as quickly as I can. As soon as I finish that decision, I put it into a PDF and I email it to everyone who is in the hearing here today. And so you all have a copy of that really just moments after it's complete. As soon as you have that, Trey can okay the permitting and you guys can move forward to the next steps. Any questions about that or anything else right now? Okay. Again, I think we'll leave it at that. If you have questions in the future, feel free to reach out to myself or to Trey. Or if you'd like a status update on the decision, feel free to reach out to me directly, and I'm happy to provide you with an update there. Again, well done. Kudos to the whole team. Good luck with the project. And that's it. Have a great day. We are adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Take care, everybody.